5-year contract. It's just, I bring it up only because who cares, Scott? It's just mine. Jaren Jackson Jr., good player. Don't get me wrong. $50 million a year. You know, we all bitch and complain about the Juan Soto deals and the Ohtani deals, and you get guys like Jaren Jackson making $50 million a year.
In-game live, only on SportsGrid.
There's now 7 different directors of analytics for like the Raptors, the Chiefs, where you can see us all like workshopping these ideas in these threads because golf is so ubiquitous amongst gamblers. And so that was like the most popular non-poker forum was the golf sub-forum. And then once we started thinking about once I realized in 2013 that Brody's book was coming out, I just thought stroke chain putting was it.
The Smiley Show, only on SportsGrid.
I'm saying I like their odds because I think they're insane at this point, but I do think they are a very viable option.
I don't even think their odds are that insane, honestly. They won 64 games.
So you like this move for them?
Well, so the odds...
Regardless of the odds, just from a basketball.
Yeah, the odds have nothing to do with it. They won 64 games. They were eliminated by the Pacers, who lost Halliburton. The other 60-win team was the Celtics, and they lost Tatum. I think...
And the Knicks don't have a coach.
Betting above the rim, only on SportsGrid.
You want to take that gap year and trade LeBron James somewhere and get value, legitimate value for a 41-year-old player, LeBron James, I still think, in return. I think you have to explore that because if LeBron wants to win a title, we've heard so much buzz for, I think, 3 or 4 years now, Kevin, about Stephen Curry and LeBron James wanting to eventually play together. This might be that moment here. If you're the Golden State Warriors, why not make that call? I think that's something to watch out for.
Game time decisions, only on SportsGrid.
Hello and welcome to a Thursday Live right here on the early line on SportsGrid and all across the SportsGrid network. That includes sportsgrid.com/watch, where you can find your favorite destination to consume everything all across the grid. He is Donnie right side. I am Ben Stevens. We are here together for the next 3 hours up until 11 a.m. Eastern time. Spoiler alert. It's our last day of the week here on TEL before we enter the holiday weekend. 4th of July, Independence Day is tomorrow. So we will get you set for all the sporting news that you need entering this holiday weekend with a main focus on America's pastime tomorrow. A full Friday slate on the 4th of July on the MLB Diamond. What we saw on an extra full Wednesday around the bigs in some history last night in downtown Los Angeles. NBA free agency continues. The summer and the drama around the association starting to get ramped up in DRS. Plenty more to break down over these 3 hours here on TEL as we continue and conclude our division by division breakdown in this month of July, a football month around the NFL.
Yes, it is. Football training camps getting closer and closer to us, which is fantastic. But you know what else is getting closer and closer to us? 4th of July weekend, which begins tomorrow, Friday, Saturday, Sunday. Get the barbecues out there. Get the hot dogs going, the cheeseburgers, the hamburgers, the cool cocktails, and the cigars. Yeah, it's a good time right now. I'll tell you who does not have a good time here, Ben. There's probably going to be Knick fans out there thinking they got a rock star at head coach and ended up with, I don't know, a background dancer at this point. So, tough scene.
Oh, but you love the Knick City Dancers. And hold on a second, my man.
Should have made one of
them. For
them.
a guy that now partakes in fasting, we're going to be lighting some stogies during the holiday weekend. Fireworks in DRS's backyard.
Yeah, see, now I live in a woodsy area, so it is kind of tricky. Like, the kids always like, let's get the fireworks out. And I try to, hold off a little bit because one shoots off in the wrong direction, and your boy DRS is on the news and heavy fines, and I might not be appearing here on the network anymore. So we got to try to calm it down a little bit.
Yeah, come Monday, an arsonist here on the early line.
Yeah,
we hope that is not the case, but we hope that everybody has a lovely holiday weekend. Speaking of the 4th of July, we'll talk some hot dogs, some glizzies here in these 3 hours as well. Donnie, you mentioned it, the tease of our lead. Yesterday, the New York Knicks found themselves a new head coach a familiar name around the NBA, Mike Brown, is now headed to New York City to be the next head coach starting in 2025-26. They are finalizing the deal, but the Knicks have made the offer. Mike Brown takes the reins for a Knicks team, DRS, after firing Tom Thibodeau earlier in the offseason after Tibbs guided New York to their first appearance in an Eastern Conference Finals in 2.5 decades. So the question is Mike Brown the guy to elevate the Knicks to a stage they have not seen since 1999? That would be an NBA Finals appearance.
Look, a lot of things are setting up in the Eastern Conference for the New York Knicks to have a very good season. I mean, talk about, what's going on with Cleveland, a couple injuries there, obviously with the Boston Celtics. We'll see if the Bucks made themselves better. Are the Orlando Magic going to be a force? The Philadelphia 76ers with question marks. The one question mark we probably didn't have if Tibbs came back was like, okay, viable head coach, let's move forward. And if you were going to get rid of Tibbs here, was to take the next step because that coach couldn't get over the hump, and then you get Mike Brown in the building, who is going to be a player's coach. He's familiar with the NBA, a head coach at multiple spots. It just doesn't move the needle. Like, I thought this move was going to move the needle for the Knicks and their fan base, and it just doesn't.
You think, DRS, if you fire Tibbs, a guy that had guided you to the postseason in 5 consecutive years, that brought you to new stages you had not been in a very long time, it would be for a superstar. It would be for that splashy hire in the Big Apple, the city that never sleeps, inside the world's most famous arena. Mike Brown is a great head coach. He has had success at 3 different spots: Cleveland, LA, and most recently in Sacramento. We'll break down his career resume and if it moves the needle for the New York Knicks. Does this move the needle for LeBron James and the LA Lakers? After being bought out by the Portland Trailblazers, DeAndre Ayton has signed a 2-year deal with the Lakers. Los Angeles has a new big man: LeBron, Luka, DeAndre, the former number 1 overall pick in 2018, after 2 years in Portland, now heads to Los Angeles.
I mean, they just needed a big. That was the major issue with the Los Angeles Lakers. Nothing at center. Are we saying that DeAndre Ayton's going to be a first-team All-Pro next year because he's in LA? No, we're not. But a viable center that you have now under constraints of $8 million per year, that worked out really well for the Los Angeles Lakers. The biggest need position on that team has now been filled. Yeah. Just a matter of, can he stay healthy, how well he's going to play. But a quality player at a cheap price, come on now, Lakers. That was a pretty good move.
DeAndre Ayton probably has not lived up to the billing in his 7 NBA seasons of a first overall pick. Heck, he's never been an all-star. Is he a solid big? I would say so. Clayton Kershaw makes history last night in Los Angeles on the 100th and final pitch of his outing in the top of the 6th on a 1-2 count. He gets Vinny Capra looking for his 3,000th career strikeout, becoming the 20th ever pitcher in MLB history to record 3 Ks. Clayton Kershaw making history last night at Chavez Ravine.
Yeah, and by the way, the bigger news for me is guy went 6 innings and a quality start. Now, granted, you are going up against the White Sox, but the White Sox probably should have won that game. We'll talk about that a little bit later, but good for Clayton Kershaw. And we told you yesterday, he definitely was getting that. They were going to leave him in as long as possible, right up to 100 pitches. That final at bat got it done.
And they did, DRS. Clayton Kershaw gave up 4 earned in his opening 3 frames, and yet they kept him out there. Only had 1 strikeout through 4 innings, got 1 in the 5th, and on his final pitch of the night makes history in the top of the 6th. Wild game yesterday in Toronto between the Blue Jays and the Yankees. The Jays had an 8-0 lead. The Yankees rally all the way back before Toronto edges New York out for an 11-9 victory. This a 4-game set with our finale on this Thursday, but Toronto has taken the opening 3 over New York.
Yeah, Aaron Judge up to 363 with a couple base knocks yesterday, another home run. But also, we talked about so many times the past couple weeks, the Toronto Bats are absolutely alive and awake. A fun team to watch and bet now on a night-to-night basis.
And because of it, DRS, the Blue Jays and the Yankees now tied atop the American League East. Our all-star starters in Major League Baseball for the Midsummer Classic released yesterday. And the 2 best teams of the bigs, the Dodgers, best mark, 55 and 32. By the way, they rallied, scoring 3 runs in the 9th to walk it off against the White Sox last night. And the Tigers with the best record in the American League, 54 and 33. Both LA and Detroit lead all teams around MLB with 3 starters each for the American League and the National League.
Yeah, I don't have any problem with it. Lead vote getter there. Obviously, Shohei Ohtani, fantastic in the National League. A leading vote getter in the American League, no question about it. It's Aaron Judge. Summer Classic, it doesn't mean much. Let the fans have some fun. And even if guys like Ronald Acuna played a handful of games, still a superstar. That's what the game is, the all-star game, not the all-statistics game. We want to see the superstars.
And DRS, of course, the fan vote heavily weighing in. And where is the All-Star game this year? In just about a week and a half. Of course, it is in Atlanta. The United States men's national team in a Gold Cup semifinal against the underdogs, Guatemala. The U.S. does not allow the Guatemalans into that final, led by Diego Luna, who scored twice for the Americans in the opening 15 minutes of the match. The U.S. wins 2-1. They will play Mexico in the final on Sunday.
Oh, boy. Yeah, where's that game at, by the way? Is it in Texas, in California? Like, where is this Cup final? Can we get it in New York City? That would be nice at this point. But El Tres, is that what they call it? El Tres? What are they called? Mexico.
I don't know. Carlos Alcaraz advances, by the way, at Wimbledon. Jasmine Paulina upset in the chaos. More next. Got it.
Enter into the magical world of McLuck.com, where even the smallest of spins can win real cash prizes. Adventure into over 1,000 of the best Vegas-style slot games. So what are you waiting for? Unlock your free welcome offer today. Join the fun where winners play and players win.
Two guys that can do it all.
Too much electricity this morning.
This is a good time. We're having a lot of fun.
I had to do a triple take. Ka-ching! Why? Because of parity.
I didn't mean to offend.
Yeah, it's not going to happen.
Load management is a dirty word.
Let him rip.
You know what? Circumstances provide the results.
What? How do you do this one?
Oh, Donnie, you got such a good show there.
A network that is booming.
The Early Line, only on SportsGrid.
We're going to go through every single thing, and I've got a great team behind me that's going to help me get the job done. I want this to be the place that people come to. There is going to be an energy to game time decisions that you will feel night in and night out. We are going to hit every single one of those markets that you need to know about. We will have everything at our disposal, and we will use that to our advantage. There is not going to be a better place, I promise you, than Game Time Decisions. I'm Kevin Walsh. Tune in to Game Time Decisions weekdays on SportsGrid.
The game is on. The stakes are high. But the action isn't just on the field.
He's rearranging that rim. Get it inside!
SportsGrid's in-game live. Your ultimate second screen experience.
A little flyer, couple of
15.5 point live line.
Every prop, every play, every day.
Anything can happen. That's complete chaos.
It's smarter to be on SportsGrid.
Did you know sportsbooks tend to draw up tighter bet lines for events that get even more bettors, like championship games or major matchups? My tip, try betting on less popular sports. You might have a better shot at beating those odds. Now, go get lucky. See you in Las Vegas. Let's get lucky.
The NBA summer can often be dramatic, whether it's free agency or blockbuster deals or heck, head coaching hirings. The offseason around the association always filled with drama and storylines. No different yesterday afternoon, DRS, as we break it down here bright and early on a Thursday on the Early Line. When the New York Knicks reached the Eastern Conference Finals for the first time in 25 years since 2000 and were booked as a favorite against the Indiana Pacers with home court advantage, people started dreaming like it was 99, like the Knicks would get to the NBA Finals for the first time in 26 years. Why? because Tom Thibodeau, as the head coach, had guided them there. But when the Knicks came up short, there was some question around Tibbs' future. Was he the guy to elevate this Knicks franchise to the stages they now expected to be? The answer pretty quickly, DRS, was no, as Leon Rose and that Knicks front office decided to axe Tom Thibodeau after 5 highly successful seasons in New York. If you make that move for a guy that had brought you to new stages and new heights in recent franchise history, we all think, all right, who is that next big fish the New York Knicks are going to reel in? Jay Wright, Rick Pitino, Dan Hurley. All right, a guy in the NBA. Jason Kidd, Eric Spoelstra. The Knicks were denied in basically every head coaching inquiry they made. So who do they settle on? Well, it was made official yesterday. The next head coach of the New York Knicks, Mike Brown. Welcome to Madison Square Garden. Inside the world's most famous arena, Mike Brown will be the new head coach, DRS, of the New York Knicks starting in 2025-26.
Upgrades are what you're always looking forward to when you're trying to win a championship. And hear me out on this. Like, Mike Brown is a very solid NBA coach, but that's not what we were looking for in New York City. Like, we were looking for next level. Who's going to be able to get us over the hump? Who's going to be able to get us to the championship round? Who's going to be able to win an NBA championship? Who's going to invigorate the fan base? Because the fan base liked Thibodeau, but we used to joke about, hey, it's funny that they don't play any bench and you play 5 guys the entire season, 82 games, every minute of every game eventually catches up to you. There were some deficiencies there. But I don't think anybody looked at the New York Knicks roster and said, boy, he's the reason why we didn't win this. Maybe some of the guys just didn't play as well. So if you were under the thought process that Coach Tibbs was, hey, maybe he's not good enough, I want to go out and get a true tactician. And the guys they tried to ask for, Jason Kidd, Chris Finch, Ime Udoka, Quinn Snyder, Billy Donovan, and those likes, and maybe pulling Jay Wright out of the commentary booth to be their head coach. Because I just think what Knicks fans wanted to is because there was so much passion in that arena throughout the playoff run, so much passion in the city that I truly believe if they got the head coach they wanted to, like the fashion district would be exploding to like, can't wait for the press conference. We're on our way to an NBA championship. But now we look at it, it's like, okay, it's Mike Brown. It's a wait and see approach. You don't fire Tibbs, Ben, to sit back and say, let's take a wait and see approach. The next coach is supposed to be here to take that mantle and not say, hey, happy to be here in New York. I'm here on one mission. It's to win a championship. That's what I was hired to do, and have the fan base believe that. I don't know if they believe this, though.
Yeah, DRS, that's kind of why I built it up the way I did in discussing the context and the situation around the firing of Tom Thibodeau. Mike Brown is a solid head coach who has had great success during his 11 years as a head coach in the NBA with 3 different franchises in 4 different stints. 2 runs in Cleveland, took over with the Cavaliers in 05-06, the 3rd year of LeBron James's career. He was there through 2009 and 2010, came back in 2013-14 in the middle. Basically had a year and then some change with the LA Lakers, 2011 through 13, and most recently in Sacramento these past 3 seasons, but was fired 31 games into this previous campaign. He has won 2 Coach of the Year awards in his first run with the Cavs, and is recently, DRS, in his first year in Sacramento, making the Kings the 3 seed in the Western Conference. He has had a winning record in all 3 spots that he has been. His overall win percentage, as you see, .599. Mike Brown is successful. Mike Brown has been among some of the most successful head coaches in NBA history. Won a championship with Greg Popovich in San Antonio in the early 2000s as an assistant on that bench. Won 3 Larry O'Brien trophies as one of the top assistants to Steve Kerr in this dynastic run with the Golden State Warriors. There is no doubt that Mike Brown can have success, but when you fire Tom Thibodeau because he brought you to the Eastern Conference Finals, which no coach had in the last 25 years, you go get the guy that you are confident is the guy that 100% will bring you to the NBA Finals. That next stage, especially in the uncertain Eastern Conference entering next year. And it feels as though Mike Brown might have success in New York City, but he wasn't that splashy hire we expect inside the world's most famous arena.
Yeah, we need some leaks coming out of the front office here for the Knicks. And the reason I say that is this wasn't the plan moving forward. Like, hey, we're going to fire Tibbs, and then we're going to eventually settle on a head coach who's been around the block, and Mike Brown will be a great candidate. I truly believe that there was networking before Thibodeau was fired that was like, hey, you know what? Jay Wright's really on the hook at this point. Talk to Jason Kidd, back channel him. He'll get out of that contract with the Mavericks. The Mavericks will say, you know what? If he doesn't want to be here, we'll trade him for compensation or dollars or whatever it might be at this point. There's no way that when they fired Tibbs, said, you know what? We're going to go through a long, extensive process, and we're just going to throw hooks in the water all over the place. Hopefully a big fish bites. If not, we'll land on a guy that's been a retread. That's not the case here for the Knicks. I would love to hear the true story of how it went down with Coach Tibbs and how it led us here to Mike Brown being their head coach. Because also, Ben, you might have been able to cover this up like, hey, we fired Tibbs, and 3 days later we had Mike Brown. We always wanted Mike Brown. Like, okay, it was a decisive decision. They didn't want Mike Brown.
Right.
They ended up with Mike Brown.
Yeah, and you can say Mike Brown was the guy brought back for multiple interviews. This was the plan all along. It wasn't. They got denied by 5 different NBA teams to speak to those current head coaches in this process. You can call it long and thorough, and they checked all their boxes and they crossed their T's and dotted their I's. We know what that is like. But the ultimate question, DRS, is Mike Brown that guy? Is Brown the needle mover that makes the New York Knicks the front runner in the Eastern Conference? The odds say ever so slightly. The Knicks began this offseason with the second best price, about 40 cents behind Cleveland, win the up-in-the-air Eastern Conference crown next season. Now they are the slight favorites, a dime in front of the Cavaliers at plus 270. We'll talk more about the future in the NBA and a new big man in LA next.
New to social casinos? You're in for a treat. Most online casinos offer bonus cash or coins just for signing up. That's your own little participation trophy. Now, go get lucky. See you in Las Vegas. Let's get lucky.
If you're betting $50 a pop, doesn't matter. But if you want to bet $2 or $3 grand each side and literally have plus 110 on both sides, not the worst way to make some money on a Sunday night.
Not at all, right? I mean, and that's amazing. I've never really watched this in real time where you see these odds fluctuate with penalty kicks going on.
In-game live only on SportsGrid.
Kalshi has been around since 2018, offering these event contract trading prediction markets where you can wager on things like the weather, whether or not Dave Portnoy is going to give a 9.0 on his next pizza review spot, and then the election, which is where they really made headlines. Election betting is technically illegal.
Newswire. Only on SportsGrid.
You don't want a big that's camped out under the basket and clogging the lane. He provides a lot of really good defense, a lot of three-point shooting, and again, younger than Brook Lopez. It is a good match. I just don't think it moves the needle. But as we talked about to open the show, when Giannis Antetokounmpo was saying, we're not just going to sit here this year and say, oh, Dame's down, let's just take a pause year because I'd rather go try to chase a championship. So at least they're being honest and saying, we're going to make this team better.
The Early Line, only on SportsGrid.
A big move yesterday in NBA free agency for a big man in Los Angeles. DRS, it was very apparent in the half season that Luka Doncic had in LA alongside LeBron James. Those two guys, the names, LeBron and Luka, should be good enough to make you a contender in the Western Conference. But with a lack of front court skill, the Lakers basically saying, we're not even going to play a center in the opening round against the Timberwolves. They needed to fill out a roster around LeBron and Luka that could compete for an NBA championship. Well, they make that first big move. Welcome DeAndre Ayton to downtown Los Angeles. Now, is Ayton the guy that pushes the Lakers over the top and makes them a front runner in the Western Conference? Perhaps not. Is he an upgrade? Does he improve the roster overall? As when LeBron James opted back into the final year of his deal over the weekend, that was one of the pressure points that Rich Paul put on the LA front office. I would say so. DeAndre Ayton signs a 2-year deal to now play for the Lakers.
And I think it's a pretty good move. Understand this, though. Like, the Lakers needed a center in the worst way. They were so deficient at that position. They got one here. Now, also, if you take a look throughout his career, is he Shaquille O'Neal coming to the Lakers from the Orlando Magic? No, he's not. But he's a double-double machine. Every single season of his career, he's averaged a double-double. Yeah. But here's the issue. Look at the last 2 years in Portland. 40 games played, 55 games played. This isn't a guy that's out there 70-plus games every single season. His maximum was what? In 2021, 69 games and 67 games with the Suns, and very underwhelming for the Trailblazers. And also understand this. Great players don't usually just change cities where the city goes, it doesn't work here. And that's what the Suns basically told that number 1 overall pick. And also, remember all the fights they had with how much he's going to get paid if they even wanted to give the guy an extension in Phoenix. So he winds up in Portland. But even though, like Portland, 40 games played, 14 points per game, 10 rebounds. The year previous, 17 points per game, 11 rebounds. If you tell me right now the Lakers are going to get a center that's going to show up every single night and get 14 and 10 for them, that's exactly what they wanted. And also, we're not talking 14 and 10 because they had to pay 5 years, $240 million to get this number 1 overall pick previously. They're getting him cheaply on a year-to-year basis. This is a win for the Lakers. A deficiency position, a quality basketball player at a cheap price. That sounds like a good deal to me.
DRS, they're not paying a ton for DeAndre Ayton. In fact, the Trailblazers are paying more for Ayton next year than that of the Lakers. Reportedly a 2-year, $16.6 million deal, but the buyout in Portland nears $23 million, so $25 million. So basically, DeAndre Ayton is set to make $34 million next season, but about a third of that, or a quarter of that, coming from LA, most of it from the Blazers. And that's part of the story for DeAndre Ayton. The Suns drafted him first overall in 2018. He was supposed to be this generational talent, a big man for the new era in the NBA. Has he panned out to be that, to live up to that billing? Perhaps not. But to Donnie's point, has he been pretty darn consistent in his 7 seasons in the NBA? Yeah. He's averaged at least 14 points and 10 boards each and every year for his career, 16.4 points per game, 10.5 rebounds on 59% shooting from the floor. He was a part of that Suns team in 2021, Chris Paul, Devin Booker, that got to the NBA championship, but did come up short against the Milwaukee Bucks. That was the conversation around Ayton. Would he be that cornerstone that Phoenix would build upon for years to come? Not so much. He ends up in Portland, only plays 40 games. Last year, the Blazers basically say, we'll pay you a lot of money, man, to get out of town. But again, consistency for the Lakers at that all-important center position, a pair with Luka and LeBron, I think it is a good signing. Now, did it move the market? Are the Lakers now the second shortest team behind Oklahoma City to win the Western Conference crown? No. The 15-1 price on LA to win an NBA championship, which has been their price all summer, is exactly where it remains the RS at a 15-1 number. 4th best around the Western Conference, but behind the Thunder, Rockets, and the Nuggets.
Yep, makes sense because, the Lakers are a better team yesterday, or better team today than they were yesterday, but also a couple of those, like the Thunder are always going to be good. We understand that. The young team, they're not losing anybody, and away they go. We take a look at like the Rockets and the Nuggets here. Those teams also now starting to say, you know what, let's retool there for the Nuggets, but also Kevin Durant over to the Houston Rockets. It feels right. Like, oh, look at that. They signed him. It didn't move the needle. Well, per se, it doesn't move the needle on a championship because I don't think they're a championship contender overall, which means they'll win one. But I do think they're a better basketball team that needed a center, and they got one, and they got him cheap. LeBron's got to be happy about that.
You would think so. And, of course, that's a part of the conversation. All the rumors floating around LeBron and where he plays ball next year. To the baseball diamond next.
like Pete Rose. I was betting on the games and stuff, and I didn't always take the Expos. And there was a game once the Expos came back from like a 9-2 deficit in like the 9th inning. And on the post-game show, I got like 3,000 calls. The phone was blowing up. Morency, that was the greatest game in the last 10 years of the Expos. Awesome stuff. Hey, what do you think? I'm like, what I think? The Cubs suck.
Sports Rage tonight, only on SportsGrid.
Just have them put on that hat so the moment can be immortalized. Not Will Riley wearing the hat of the Utah Jazz when he is going to play for the Washington Wizards. It is so dumb. Stop it. You want to do official in terms of your draft tracking status? Fantastic. Switch the hats. Let the moments live. Let them be significant and special. Rant up.
The Early Line, only on SportsGrid.
Put Pete Crow Armstrong on the mound to see what he does. Like, Ohtani, just by himself at the plate, is the best hitter in Major League Baseball. Let's just say, keep it in the National at this point. He's the MVP. So I can't wait till he pitches 6 innings, gives up 5 earned runs. Time they go like, I don't know if he could be the MVP now. Oh, no, he's still hitting 300 with 45 jacks and just pitched 6 innings in a Major League Baseball game. And people are going to hold that against him.
Pro Baseball Today, only on SportsGrid.
Will Aaron Judge be at the top of the home run board in MLB? What say you?
Judge probably is going to hit 55, 58. Somewhere around there is be his number there. So I'll say I'm going to buy this. And Aaron Judge will lead the major leagues in home runs this year. Listen, I'm not breaking news. I probably would take that every year. And when he plays, this next couple until he's getting up there in age, until his bat does start to slow down.
Fantasy Sports Today, only on SportsGrid.
A very full Wednesday slate around Major League Baseball. 4 different spots where we had a doubleheader. We'll hit those up next. But history at stake late night last night, DRS, in Los Angeles. Clayton Kershaw, in year number 18 of his storied MLB career, 3 strikeouts away from becoming the 20th ever pitcher in Major League Baseball history to record 3,000 career strikeouts. His K-prop entering a start against the Chicago White Sox was 4.5. We thought he would get there easily. Well, it wasn't easy, but it did happen. Last night, history at the Ravine. The Dodgers rally in the 9th. We'll get to the game result in just a moment as they do knock off the Sox 5-4. But in the top of the 6th, a 1-2 count against Vinny Capra of the Chicago White Sox. And Clayton Kershaw throws a breaking ball that paints the edge and gets called strike 3 to end the inning on his 100th pitch of the night. Clayton Kershaw records 3,000 career strikeouts, DRS.
Yeah, Capra, right, hitting 190. That's the guy's like, you know what? I'm saving it all up just to get this guy, and he certainly got that done. But 3,000 strikeouts is really amazing because it shows the longevity and also the dominance that Clayton Kershaw one had. Now, you might be looking as a younger fan like, hey, he doesn't look all that great to me. Trust me, there was a time where Clayton Kershaw was the preeminent left-handed pitcher in Major League Baseball, and that was for quite some time. The only knock on him, oh, big games, playoffs, can't perform, and he certainly got rid of that. He's a World Series champion. So it was good to see it done. And also we talked about it, yes, like, I don't know where his next start would be, but, in Milwaukee, in Florida, no, you wanted to do this at home in Chavez Ravine where you're the dominant king of Los Angeles as a pitcher here. And he did that last night. And also giving him the leash to do that before the game. Clayton Kershaw is not really a 100 pitch guy anymore. If you get 5 innings out of him and 88 pitches, boy, that's a really good night for Clayton Kershaw. Thank you for helping out our Dodgers team here. But the fact that they let him go into the 6th, and it wasn't as if, Ben, this was a clean start. It was like, hey, he hasn't given up a run here. We'll let him go to 100 pitches. In a typical start where this wasn't on the radar, if he was 15 strikeouts away, he might not have made it past like 4 1/3 innings pitched. They let him go, worked out perfectly because you would have had an interesting decision at 100 pitches for an aging pitcher to bring him out for another inning just to get that strikeout. And also understand, you do want to win the game as well, and you don't want to do your team a disservice by bringing out a pitcher that probably shouldn't be in there over 100 pitches. But it all worked out for the Dodgers.
DRS, in the 9 starts now for Clayton Kershaw this year in his 18th MLB season, this was his first one at 100, his first one with more than 92 pitches, just his second start with more than 85 pitches thrown. He only had 1 K through the opening 4 innings. He had allowed 4 earned runs in the opening 3 frames. He got a strikeout swinging in the 5th, and that strikeout looking on Vinny Capra, who now also gets involved in Major League Baseball history. The 20th ever pitcher to record 3,000 career strikeouts. Now, quickly on the game, DRS, the Dodgers were trailing 4-2. The Dodgers, when Kershaw exited, he was in line for a loss, and he had won 4 consecutive starts in a row. The Dodgers rallied to score 3 in the 9th and walked it off courtesy of Freddie Freeman, an RBI single. Shohei Ohtani scores that game-winning run. The Dodgers remain hot. They're the best team in Major League Baseball at 55-32. LA has won 14 of its last 17. And when you're a minus 320 money line favorite against the White Sox, even if it takes until the home half of the 9th in walk-off fashion, you got to cash that ticket.
Oh, you do. And also, you take a look at that and you say, all right, well, you got to get off to a good start. I mean, come on now. You bring in your closer, a long relief guy, Conforto singles, Edmund walks, Kim walks. It's bases loaded. It's basically, you know what? Let's just call a timeout right now and get out of town because we're going to lose this game. The Ohtani, ground out. Then you had Bet sacrifice fly, and then also the Freddie Freeman single. And away you go with the victory here. The big guys performing in big moments there. So Ohtani gets the RBI, Betts gets the RBI, and Freeman gets the RBI. Isn't that the way it's supposed to be in the Dodgers lineup?
Yeah, it certainly is, DRS. A huge rally for LA, now 55-32. But again, the win over Chicago almost pales in comparison to the history we saw last night. But what a game it was, what an atmosphere it was, what an environment it was to cap off the history that Clayton Kershaw made with a walk-off win against the White Sox. And what I thought was so cool, DRS, was the moment. Because the strikeout against Vinny Capra for 3K in his career came on the final pitch of his night, the final pitch of an inning. They didn't have to pause the game after the first out of the frame so Kersh could go walk around and tip the cap to the fans. He got to walk off the field at the end of the top of the 6th inning and certainly got his salutes and celebrations from that crowd at the Ravine that was on its feet for a 1-2 count. How special was the moment for Clayton Kershaw? Let's hear from the guy himself.
This was such a special night all the way around. It really was. Couldn't have asked for anything more, really. It just was it was so fun to get to be out there. And, after the 5th, thankfully I got 1 strikeout in the 5th, so it was only 1 that I needed left. And it's a little bit harder when you're actually trying to strike people out. I've never really had to do that before. It was hard. You give the White Sox credit too; they didn't make it easy on me at all. So it was a tough night all the way around. But what a way to end it with Freddie coming up clutch there, and just to see the fans' reaction and running back out there for the 6th and hearing that crowd roar was up there for me in special moments. It really was. So just super thankful for tonight. Super thankful for my teammates. I told my teammates, individual awards are great, but if you don't have anybody to celebrate with, it's just, it doesn't matter, And so to have that room full of guys, coaches, strength staff, training staff, front office, everybody, just really, be happy for me is just awesome. And they were in it with me, and it was an amazing night. So just a lot of gratefulness on this end for sure.
A great moment for Clayton Kershaw. His family was there. The entirety of Dodger Stadium on their feet as that breaking ball hit the black and struck out Vinny Capra in the top of the 6th for his 3,000th career strikeout. In DRS, in recent memory, in the 18 years that Clayton Kershaw has been a part of Major League Baseball, he is one of the most accomplished pitchers that we have seen. He is a 10-time All-Star, a 3-time National League Cy Young winner. He won the 2014 National League MVP as a pitcher, and now becomes the 20th ever pitcher in MLB history to record 3,000 career strikeouts. He is also a 2-time World Series champion now and has played the entirety of his 18 seasons in MLB. He is a lifelong Dodger and got to celebrate in front of his family and the many fans that have watched his entire career in Los Angeles.
Yeah, it's certainly been a storied career, no doubt about it. And there's something to be said about playing that long in the same city. Usually after 4 or 5 years, you move on, or maybe you just move on from baseball in itself here. But he's been certainly spectacular. And understand this, it's not as if he came back this year. It's like, man, I can't believe Kershaw's coming back again. Like, they actually need him. There's so many injuries, it feels like, on a week-to-week basis with the Dodgers pitching staff that you're thankful you used to have a veteran that can come in every fifth day and maybe give you a quality start, which he has done. And good for them last night. Save up that bullpen. 100 pitches there. Could have got pulled early in that game, stuck around there, got that final strikeout so everybody can celebrate. And then he'll probably tell you as well, you know what? Tough night here overall. I didn't pitch my best, but the best thing about this is, yes, I like the strikeout, but we won the ball game in the end. Storybook season here for Clayton Kershaw, putting another chapter in that book of a champion.
37 years old, DRS. That is Clayton Kershaw. Again, this is year number 18. And he's still getting it done. Now, the ERA on the rise ever so slightly after allowing 4 against the Sox last night, a 3.43, but did not record the L. He is still a perfect 4-0 this season. Now, this show in Los Angeles airs on Sportsnet LA each and every morning. That is the television home of the Dodgers. So, Clayton Kershaw, we salute you. We hope everybody in Los Angeles enjoyed the festivities last night. DRS, I interned for Sportsnet LA back in the summer of 2014. I got to interview Clayton Kershaw when he was on a scoreless streak at his locker, one of the early highlights of my sports media career. So
Ben
Clayton,
return in
congrats.
2025?
Playing online blackjack and want to try upping your odds? Well, here's a tip. Cheat cards tell you statistics for whether you hit or stand on every move. If you're into stats, this could be your ticket to winning. And it is totally legal. Now, go get lucky. See you in Las Vegas. Let's get lucky.
The two guys that can do it all.
Too much electricity this morning.
This is a good time. We're having a lot of fun.
I had to do a triple take.
Ka-ching! Why? Because of parity.
I didn't mean to offend.
Yeah, it's not going to happen.
Load management is a dirty word.
Let him rip.
You know what? Circumstances provide the results.
What? How do you do this once?
Oh, Donnie, you've got such a good show there.
A network that is booming.
The Early Line, only on SportsGrid. The game is on. The stakes are high. But the action isn't just on the field.
He's rearranging that roof. Get it inside!
SportsGrid's in-game live. Your ultimate second screen experience.
A little flyer, couple of
15.5-point live line.
Every prop, every play, every day.
Anything can happen. That's complete chaos.
It's smarter to be on SportsGrid.
A very, very full slate on a Wednesday around Major League Baseball that, of course, ended with some history in Los Angeles. But one of the reasons, DRS, it wasn't just a full slate Wednesday, 15 games, all 30 clubs in action. We had 3 rainouts and a suspension due to weather on Tuesday night. So yesterday we were slated for 4 different spots of doubleheader action. And would you look at that? In all 4 spots, a split in the doubleheader, as DRS kind of alluded to yesterday. And often, as crazy as that might say, how it plays out. In Philadelphia, the Padres got the better of Mick Abel in the opening game, and pitching Nick Pivetta was great. In the second game, Christopher Sanchez, elite as he has been this year for the Phils. Inside Citi Field, the Mets continued their losing ways, dropping 14 of 17 in the opener against the Brewers, but got to the rookie flamethrower and that rookie pitching sensation, Jacob Mizorowski, in the second to finally get back in the win column. The Tigers hammered the Nats in D.C. in the opener and then got beat in the second game 9-4, despite Jack Flaherty getting the start for Detroit. The Red Sox won the resumption of the first game that was suspended after 3 innings from Tuesday night against Cincy. The Reds respond with an 8-4 win in the nightcap. DRS 4 doubleheaders in 4 splits yesterday around MLB.
And sometimes they just don't even go as planned. Like I was sitting there yesterday looking at that Mets game, or Mets back-to-back games, like, oh, the Mets better win game number 1. Oh, no, they didn't. Mizorowski's on the mound versus a bullpen start, and they pounded Mizorowski yesterday, which means they got that 1-1 split. It's just one of those things where, and again, talking about the Mets, saying, hey, you know, if you're struggling, you love a doubleheader because it usually means you're going to get one regardless of how you play or how the other team plays. It's just the way sometimes it plans out. And it's interesting that all of those games each ended up with a coin flipping game 1, a coin flipping game number 2. Maybe didn't think the team would win game number 1 and won game number 2, or vice versa. It's with the doubleheaders, it's so tricky to handicap and gamble in those games because we don't know who is available or the mindset of a team for game number 2. But everybody got the split yesterday. It's kind of funny how that happens.
Yeah, it really is, DRS. Let's focus on the games inside Citi Field. Again, things were pretty bad for the New York Mets, who ended out June 3-13. And in their first game in July, with an extra day of rest, all right, you know you got Jacob Mizorowski in the second. You're a slight home favorite in the first with Clay Holmes on the bump. Go out there and pick up a dub. Change the vibes, the tenor around this team. They get beat 7-2. So to get to Big Miz in that second game, Brandon Nimmo hit a grand slam in the bottom of the second as they changed up the lineup a little bit. Nimmo in the leadoff spot. Right behind him, Francisco Lindor, who in the second followed up with a back-to-back solo shot after the grand slam out of Brandon Nimmo. And then you had 2 more RBIs for Frankie in that second game, 3 ribs in total. The Mets really trying to find it here, DRS, early in June.
Yes, and hopefully they can get around to it before the Philadelphia Phillies or maybe the Atlanta Braves actually start playing really good baseball. But you'll take what you saw yesterday, even in like game number 1, which was interesting. Freddie Peralta's a good pitcher. Like the New York Mets had 1 runner in scoring position that game. They only got 2 base hits. They got dropped 7-2. So you know they're like, okay, we got to win this next game. But Mizorowski was on the mound, and you again were just throwing randos out there and ended up coming away with an easy victory because the bats woke up. We like that New York Mets rotation here. You know, if they can stay healthy, which is always a problem. But the 1 through 9 batters, there never should be an issue with that. You shouldn't be getting 2 base hits in a game against the Freddie Peralta-led Milwaukee Brewers in your own house on warm, muggy conditions here. But as we said, they got the split. They can feel good about that and move forward and try to track down the Philadelphia Phillies before the All-Star break comes up.
A 2-game lead for Philadelphia still atop the National League East, 51-36 for the Phils. The Dodgers 55-32, the best record in baseball. Because the Tigers lost that second game against the Nats, even with Jack Flaherty on the bump, they are now a game behind LA at 54-33. But they're still doing pretty okay in the American League Central for that number 1 spot. They are, DRS, a 12.5 game advantage in front of both the Twins and the Guardians. Cleveland now has dropped 6 consecutive games. Things are not good for Cleveland. The Cubbies rallying yesterday for a 5-4 win and a Shota Imanaga start for his second time in missing over a month. DRS, elsewhere last night, we had our starters revealed for Major League Baseball for the All-Star game that comes our way in just under 2 weeks. A week from this upcoming Tuesday in Atlanta. The Dodgers, the best record in baseball. They have 3 starters in the National League. The catcher, Will Smith, his first time starting in the Midsummer Classic. Freddie Freeman, and, of course, Shohei Ohtani, the best team in the American League, the Detroit Tigers. How about 3 starters for the Tigers? Gleyber Torres, Riley Green, and Javi Baez as a center fielder all get the nod to start in the American League during that All-Star game.
Yeah, usually it's the big cities just overpowering everybody in the fan voting and whatnot, where it's like, hey, why didn't the Dodgers have 7 out of the 9 positional players? Or like, I think even the Philadelphia Phillies had the entire infield last year, I want to say, or the year before for the All-Star game. It's crazy. Like, Javi Baez used to be a household name, big name in Chicago, but in Detroit, he sort of takes a backseat but playing really good baseball. So those are some interesting names that pops up, but it's good to see the respect of a team that's playing great baseball being shown in the All-Star game. So I have that as well in my back pocket saying, you know what? They deserve it. They do.
Yeah. Big Dumper, of course. He is going to start in the All-Star game for his first time. Cal Raleigh for the American League. Vladdy Jr. also getting the starting nod. Jacob Wilson of the Athletics getting the start at short for the American League. Jose Ramirez, he is back. Aaron Judge, a 7-time starter, the most of any of these All-Stars. Riley Green, Javi Baez, and Ryan O'Hearn earning the starting nod as that DH. To round out the NL, we talked about Will Smith, Freddie Freeman, Ketel Marte of the Arizona Diamondbacks, Francisco Lindor, Manny Machado, Ronald Acuna Jr. in front of the hometown crowd in Atlanta. Pete Crow Armstrong having a great season, and another Cubby in Kyle Tucker in his first year in Chicago.
Yeah, and again, you're going to get the bigger cities dominating. I don't have any issues with this, and it is an all-star game that sometimes you're like, well, if it does mean home field advantage for the World Series, then you maybe get a little bit angry the way the fans vote sometimes, or guys that might not be deserving to be there based on statistics. But it's a game that's just an exhibition game. These are who the fans voted in. Nobody should be upset about who's going to be in the starting 9 for either one of those teams.
Yeah, it's a midsummer classic. It's a great time. It's a sign of the dog days that comes our way in just shy of 2 weeks. We round out this opening hour by rounding out Wednesday in MLB. Up next.
Lonzo Ball, I guess, Chicago, they've just, kind of had enough here. Traded to the Cleveland Cavaliers. What do you make of him being healthy? You think there's a chance? I mean, that's kind of the key.
What you said with all these guys re-signing kind of speaks to the landscape of free agents this year. Most of the guys, there isn't that much money out there to be had. I think the Nets are the only team that actually have cap space and can sign anybody outright.
Newswire. Only on SportsGrid.
You got swept by the Marlins. You got some issues here. They're struggling. Arizona having their issues as well here. What I want to see here is Arizona take the lead. All right, and then let's attack the Diamondbacks bullpen. That bullpen is horrific. It's a dumpster fire. All right, that bullpen is that bad. Hit it a couple times over the weekend. Once they're up, hit the bullpen. That bullpen's going to blow the game. That's a great in-game bet for the against the Diamondbacks.
In-game live, only on SportsGrid.
I will keel over if they trade LeBron James to anyone. He is not leaving Los Angeles with all of his entertainment company, production studios, movies, TV shows, podcasts, everything that he does. This guy is stuck there like glue for the rest of his life. He's not leaving Los Angeles even when he's done playing.
Pharrell Coast to Coast, only on SportsGrid.
Incredible run here for Suarez, but realistically speaking, Corbin Burns out, Corbin Carroll is out right now. This is not a contending team, especially in that division where you've got the Dodgers and the Padres and the Giants. It's just too much to bear. The Diamondbacks would be smart to let Jordan Lawler play every day, see what he is, and then probably move on from Suarez.
Fantasy Sports Today, only on SportsGrid.
A Wednesday around Major League Baseball. A recap for you bright and early here on a Thursday on TEL. It's getaway day for most around MLB. A travel day on this Thursday as another full slate for a full weekend begins tomorrow on Friday. America's birthday, America's pastime. That's how it should be on the 4th of July. The All-Star starters revealed last night around Major League Baseball. A wild series with its fourth and final game continuing today, DRS, between the Blue Jays and the Yankees up in Toronto. They celebrated their national holiday, Canada Day, just a few days ago. So the Jays had an 8-zip lead after scoring 7 in the bottom half of the first after 3 innings. The Yankees rally all the way back. They played 2 in the top of the 8th to tie the game at 2-all, including Aaron Judge homering in the game, the 2-run shot in the 8th, his 31st this season. Judge in total 3 RBIs yesterday, 3 for 4 at the dish, as DRS alluded to early. But then the Blue Jays rally. After the rally, they cough up the 8-0 advantage, but they do win 11-9. George Springer scoring on a wild pitch. Devin Williams having a bad year in New York. And the Blue Jays have won all 3 this week, DRS, in Toronto, which means we now have a tie at the top of the American League East. Toronto and New York tied for the top spot.
Yeah, both teams yesterday, 4 of 12 with runners in scoring position. They still got 20 total runs scored between the two. But you got to feel bad. Like, you use all that energy to come back. You use your high energy, high price closer who just can't get it together in a leverage spot in the bottom of the 8th inning. Then he goes 1 inning pitch, 2 earned runs at that point, 2 walks there, only 1 strikeout. ERA now sits at 5.17. There's a lot of pluses to like on the New York Yankees because you did score 9 runs against a division competitor here. Aaron Judge hitting .363 now, but still not being enough. You tell your baseball team going into that game, Ben, we're going to plate 9 runs. That's a walk-away, absolute easy winner. But also, you're starting pitcher in Will Warren. He's not a bad pitcher per se. His ERA now spikes to 5. Why? 4 innings pitched, 10 hits and 8 earned runs. And also Barrios on the other side, like, hey, that ace held him down. No, he didn't. 4 1/3, 6 earned runs out of him. Just wasn't a great day for starting pitchers up in the 6th yesterday. Goodness.
No, it was not. But the Blue Jays have been hot. The Yankees now have dropped 13 of their last 19 games from June 12th because DRS on June 12th, the Pinstripes were 42-25. They had a 4.5-game lead over the Blue Jays, who were starting to play better baseball late in May, early in June, and a 6.5-game lead over the Tampa Bay Rays. That lead is vanquished. It's the Yanks and the Jays tied atop the American League East. The Rays win yesterday 6-5 against the A's to avoid a 3-game sweep this week. They still lose the midweek series to the Athletics. Tampa now only a half game back. The American League East looks very different right here, right now, than it did just about 2.5, 3 weeks ago.
No doubt about it. And also, you just take a look at Tampa Bay. It's so much fun, this team. Like, you never say that about Tampa. The most boring team in Major League Baseball. Win a game 3-1. Nobody hits anywhere. Now you just go outside in that heat and humidity in Tampa. And on a day-to-day basis, whenever Tampa has a home game, it's like, I don't care who the starting pitcher is on the opposite side. That ballpark just gives up runs. And Tampa Bay, you would think it's like a match made in hell, not a match made in heaven. Like, wait a second. We built this franchise on really good starting pitching, 1 million openers, 100-mile-an-hour pitchers coming out of the bullpen, and maybe we'll get a couple base hits. And now you go outdoors and go, oh, we got to actually hit the baseball. And they're doing it here. Love to see it, man. That is a fun division, the AL East right now, and Tampa right in the mix to win it, which is crazy. Every year they lose good players, and every year they still compete. What a great franchise, man.
They're kind of like the Milwaukee Brewers of the National League. By the way, the Yankees still the odds-on favorite at -160 to win the AL East, but that number was like $5 just a few weeks ago. The first 8-game win streak for the Marlins in nearly 2 decades comes to a close yesterday at home in Miami against the Minnesota Twins. The Twins victorious 2-1, snapping that 8-game win streak.
Yeah, I was looking at yesterday just saying, you know what, ride it out with the Marlins, that streak. The bats are hot. And again, if you would have told me the Marlins only gave up 2 runs, they probably would have had another 7-2 victory. But also good pitching performance by Woods Richardson yesterday, held it down. Even my guy Junk had a good pitching performance there. That's not a great hitting ballpark, and they certainly couldn't hit yesterday.
Not guilty, Didier Fuentes yesterday in Atlanta of picking up a loss for the Braves. Now, he wasn't great. But in his return from his suspension for PEDs, the power's still there for Jurickson Profar. He hits a home run. Atlanta beats the LA Angels.
Got acquitted last night.
8-3.
You know?
Hour 2 next.